Okay, it's 10:01. Hooray, it's time. Um, welcome to the koha-US Systems Administration SIG, where we talk about the Systems Administration module in Koha, all of the fun things that live in there, like system preferences and circ rules and a bunch of other junk. And then, because that's not enough stuff to talk about, we also talk about reports and SQL questions. And then if we have a lot of time left over, we talk about other things too. But this is our charge. That is the entirety of our agenda. We just talk about stuff. While I have the floor here at the beginning, I will repeat my general call that if anyone else is looking to run these meetings, I would love a volunteer. But I mean, truth be told, so far the effort of starting this meeting every month and taking some rough notes has proven to be less effort than sending the email asking someone else to take it over. So here we are. If you've been looking for a way to get low bar involved in koha-US, it's an excellent point of entry. But with that, how y'all doing? Anybody got systems administration or SQL questions? No rush. There was no rushing to talk.
This is looking to be a short meeting.
Could be. In the Bywater Partners Slack channel a couple hours ago, Christy from Cuyahoga Public Library, our dear koha-US secretary, asked about how to run a report that counts circulations in a date range out of the statistics table, but also includes all the zeros, like the item numbers that didn't check out at all in that range and gives a zero for them. We could play with that. She's not here, but we could be nice and find her an answer anyway.
I've got a report that does that, not by date range, but by month, but it can easily be modified.
So as I responded to her, like I always feel like showing the zeros in a report is a special pain in the butt because so many times it wants to only show you, like for statistics, only show you the items that had at least one thing. What's your preferred method for showing the zeros in a report like that?
I use subqueries. So let me find that report and share it on the screen. Okay, so I hate it when the Zoom controls don't go where I expect them to go. There we
They
go.
never do.
Low system resources may affect my audio quality. Closing some applications might help. Just not Zoom, I suppose.
You're working too hard.
That's the trouble with working at home. Statistics.
Just a side question, since George is looking for something. Those tabs that are listed there, are those deletable?
Yes.
Yeah, they're. I'll let Andrew explain that while I'm looking.
They live over in the authorized values, so they're not deletable from here. But if you go into administration and then authorized values, they're called like report category or something along those lines.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is way overkill for what Christy is asking for, but this is my monthly circulation by item type report. And so not only does it give all of the item types, whether there's a result or not, but it also gives all of the branches, whether there's a result or not. It'll take a minute to run because it's going to get all of the branches and all of the item types and then all of the circulation for the previous calendar month. And it's really going to break it down hard because it's going to give me a total for all circulation for all the month, And then it's going to have separate columns for adult, young adults, children's, and other. Which is why you just see the little hourglass up here at the top of the page, where the icon should be. And this is why I usually schedule this report at 1 o'clock in the morning on the first of the month, so that I don't have to sit there and wait. I have like 15 reports that I schedule to run between 12:05 and 1:30 in the morning on the first of the month, so that they can run and email me their results. I don't know when the last time I ran this one when the sun was up was. So there we go. But it gets the checkout library by name, the item type by name, and then the circulation for all, circulation for adults, circulation young adults, circulation child, and circulation other. And for us, adult, young adult, child, and other, those are shelving locations. So that's what it actually does. And the code is it's just pulling this data, but it's pulling it all from subqueries. But the subqueries that are getting the item types are subqueries and subqueries. So where have we got? So this has been such a long time since I wrote this, it's going to be hard to find the subquery that's getting the.
Well, you've been showing yours. I've been trying to write a really simple example.
Okay, in this first one, there's got to be something there. So I'm getting all the branch names from branches. And I'm getting the item type description from item types. And so down here, it's in the joins where it's going to make the difference, because I'm getting so I'm getting branch names from branches and from item types. So that's a subquery for it saying, just give me a table that's got nothing but every branch name and every item type in order, all the branch names in alphabetical order and all the item types in alphabetical order. And then it's also including the branch codes in there, but it's not showing them. And it's also getting the item types in there, but it's not showing them. So it's only showing the branch names and the item type descriptions. And then it's joining those on these individual queries to the statistics table. And it's saying, show me, get the branch code for everything. And if there's sometimes in the statistics table, you end up with these situations where something will get recorded, and for whatever reason, the branch code disappears. It's usually a glitch. But what this is doing is it's saying any place where that branch code has disappeared, it's going to replace it with NEKLS. It's going to replace it with the branch code for the central branch. And anytime that there's an item type where the item type has disappeared from the statistics table, it's going to call that a book. So it's covering those bases where those things aren't there. And then it's just counting all the rows. but where it's doing the part where the Christie wants is where it's getting the branch name and the item type, and then it's getting all of those for all of those. And then and the way that it's breaking it down is, I've got that's the first subquery is just all the branches and all the item types. And then the second one is all the statistics for everything. And the second one is all the statistics where the shelving location is adult, because that's one of our shelving locations. So I can try and answer Christy with something slightly more simple than this, because I don't know how many branches they have. Christy, is it Cuyahoga?
Yeah, they've got a few. Can't remember exactly how many.
Yeah, but this will give her everything from every branch. So,
yeah.
But it would be easy to change this from, to change it to right now I'm getting the statistics, the time frame by year, statistics date time equals this year, minus 1 month, and the month from statistics date time, where the month is 1 month ago. So it just shows me everything for right now. I guess it'd be showing me everything from December. So these were our December statistics for. Well, and that's one of the other things that you've got to look at with this is there's 20 rows per page, and I've got 144 pages. When I download this and export it into Excel, it's long. Try and send Christy a reply, but that's how you do it, though, is with the subqueries. That's how I do it. I don't know if there's a better way to do it, but that's the way I've been doing it for like 12 years. So
that was the way I thought to do it, and then I wondered, like, does George do something else? Because there are surely other ways to accomplish the same thing. Yeah, go ahead, Sally. Oh, never mind.
So the reason I do it that way is it makes it really easy to put that in a spreadsheet and then compare it from month to month to month. Because if you get all those, if it collapses the one where there's a 0, then your rows don't line up in the spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy to get those to line up in the spreadsheet if you've got all the rows.
Just showing a really, really, really simple example of the same idea. Here's show me all the checkouts from statistics, and I have only checked out these 5 items in my test tube docker. The only data I've got. I guess that's specifically checkouts today. And if I take that and because it's only looking at statistics, it's only getting the item numbers that show in statistics. It can only tell me about the stuff that did check out, not about items that didn't. If I take that and I just join in items, so I'm starting from the list of everything, get statistics, find what checked out, it's still only going to show me things that did check out at least once, because because this where is still going to delete every line out of that great big joined table I've made that doesn't have a statistics action that happened. So what I really need to do is make that one step more complicated and take my statistics query, so get the item numbers and how many times each of those checked out, make it a little subquery, and join that onto all of the items. So basically, I'm taking this table and joining it to the whole of my items to get all the item numbers with a checkout value, even if they didn't have any checkouts. Now, that didn't give me zeros because these are all null. So really, the final step is I need to, at some point, say, if you didn't get a number of checkouts, put a 0 in there instead. And that's
I think one of the
George did. Like, I think you're like coalescing in the zeros elsewhere, higher, deeper in it, if you'd like.
Well, one of the things that I'm looking at, Christy, I've got Slack open in the other window now, and one of the things I can see is she's linking onto item type to get the item type, but item type is recorded in the statistics, isn't it?
Yeah, is she trying to get the plain text description of the item type rather than the code?
All she's got is where items itype equals toy, TOY. So I'm assuming she's just getting, so she's the advantage of getting it live, well, the advantage of getting it from the statistics table is that's what the item type was at the time that the item checked out, and you don't
Yeah.
need to link back to a table, to a different table. So it makes it a faster report, and it gives you the data for what the item type was at the time that the item checked out. And that item type in the statistics table is stored as a code, as the item type code. But so the advantage is that it's there in the data in statistics. And the other thing that's important to have there is that to know about that is if an item has been deleted, it'll be in statistics, but that item type will no longer be in the item in the item record. So if you're trying to link an item type back to the item record, if that item's been deleted, you need to do a join to the deleted items table as well as the items table. And that's kind of a colossal pain. And the other issue you have, though, is if the item type has changed, like if you were looking at a circulation from 6 months ago when that thing was called new book, and you want to know all of, and now it's called book, you're going to get the item type that it has presently as opposed to the item type that it had when the item checked out, if you have changeable item types like that. God, this has got to be the most boring conversation for people that don't know Koha. Like,
But this right here is always a data point that I like struggle to verbalize to people. So this item number 977, this is what George was just talking about. At
yeah,
time of checkout, it was a book. And the item type from the statistics table is and always will be book. But something weird happened in my library and it turned into a computer file. So now if you look at this record, that item is a computer file. And so now my report, if I look at the item record item type, is going to group this as computer files. So if I'm like counting those circs by item type, if the way my library works, those item types ever change, that's important to be aware of. A lot of
yeah,
libraries, they don't. Like things are one item type its whole life and it just doesn't matter. But like if you've got a distinct new item type that like gives different circ rules for the first 6 months of that item's life, then you really do need to be aware of how you're working with that in your reports.
right. And that can be confusing for people. But then you've also got the issue, like I said, if an item gets, if you, that's why I don't like to do reports on what happened. Like right now, everybody's doing their end of the year. They're trying to find out data about what happened last year. And if you run a report today on what happened over the entire 12 months of last year, things that have been deleted, if you have any reports that are trying to link to things that might have been deleted, you're going to have issues there too, because those won't be in the items table anymore. Those will be in deleted items and deleted biblios and deleted biblio items and all of those other deleted places that we have. So that's why I try to run these reports once a month and get counts regularly. But and if I do want to run a report on live data from like what happened last week, I try to run it this week for what happened last week, not this week for what happened in the third week of March last year. That's a crappy time to run a report. You want to do that the week after the third week in March, not 40 weeks later.
In the chat, Heather said, this is great because I don't know Koha. My consortium is exploring possibly moving. Well, if you have any specific like data-y, configuration-y questions, is this possible questions, we'd be happy to hear them. But yeah, happy to provide some background. And Rebecca says, this is the video I wish I had when we started in 2020. I'm going to take issue with that because I trained you in 2020. And I'm sure I tried to talk about these things.
Well, in your defense, Andrew, it was the pandemic and it was
Yeah,
all virtual, and yeah, it was
it
a
was
mess.
funny.
But yeah, between you and George and Jason, you are my SQL saviors. So And this group and the Slack channel. Yeah. So don't worry if you're new to Koha, there's lots of resources and lots of people to help. So you'll get there.
George, is your report posted anywhere?
I don't think that one is because it's so weird for NEKLS. There is probably a version of it either on Mana or on the wiki. But I'll definitely post something to Christy that explains a simple way to do just the basic of what she wants to do, and then post that on the wiki for sure. When I have the time, which might not be. Like I said, we're expecting a delivery of firewood any minute now. Within the next 8 to 10 minutes, that guy's supposed to show up. So,
Andrew, can you pop in that really simple one you did into the chat?
Yeah, sure.
now that being said, all of the next search catalog reports, even bad ones, are on GitHub, on the NEKLS GitHub, which I can find a link to that.
What else is going on, y'all?
I have a thing I went down a rabbit hole with that's report related, if anybody wants to know more. Let me share my screen because I think visual aids will help. This one. Okay, so I had this thingy. I presented on this thingy last year's conference, this infographic that I made using a report template. And I found that sometimes when you try to print it, it doesn't work. Like print the page, it doesn't. Right now it's working okay. But I was like, it would be nice if I could download that as a PDF. And so I'm like, oh, there's a download rendered template thing. I thought it should work. But then I found that there's a bug that says you can't do that right now. So, but I found that when you go to download it, I'm gonna change this real fast and rerun it. When you go to download it as is, it just downloads as like a raw file with no nothing at the end of it. So I spent too much time backtracking on this specific feature and found this bug 35193 talking about changing the message subject field, which is what I just changed, to file type when you're using a reports template. So that informed me that you have to put the .html here to make this work. So that when you download the render template, now it downloads with the HTML, and then it's not as pretty because it doesn't have all the styles and fonts and things, but it does download it as a usable file at that point. So I'll put those two bugs in chat. I think the PDF one would be really nice if we could get it to download what you're seeing on the screen into a PDF all rendered how you want it. I don't know that that would be easily done. But right now, you have to do a little extra setup to make that download work anyway. So I thought I would point that out.
Is your downloaded HTML document, is it missing
It's-
CSS information that you've got set
It's
in the
missing
report, or is it like the CSS that Koha has inherently around it?
from Koha. It's missing the
Okay.
Koha CSS. So I don't have, so these are font awesome icons. I don't have that pulled in. The fonts themselves aren't pulled in. But the charts are working because I have that style sheet linked into the template up here. So theoretically I could link in font awesome, and I could link in the fonts I want, and this would work just fine as an HTML document. But like for my libraries, it's too many steps to begin with. Like I do want them to just be able to run this and hit Control P and print it off, and that usually works, but sometimes it like blows up and then this screen all grays out and you can't do anything with it at all. So having the option to download it as a PDF right from here would be really, really handy, because then they know what to do with the PDF and they can send that PDF to their boards and whatnot. So yeah. Put those in the chat just in case anybody wants to CC themselves. The one about renaming it, which is the one that I spent lots of time trying to find, is just in patch doesn't apply, so it got stalled out. And then the one about PDF is new. Downloading as PDF is new, because that would be a new feature. I did try just changing the file name to .pdf, and that definitely does not work.
I was thinking you just need a piece of jQuery there to remove everything else from the page. You know, create a jQuery button that removes everything else from the page, and then you can just print that.
Yeah, I have that set up in the template. So like it hides everything, and then the template has a style tag that exposes just the page. So that's why it does work when I hit Control P and it just prints the page. But yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
It's a Chrome thing, actually, I think, where it can't render if there's too much data on the page. Like there's some sort of virtualization thing going on in the background that blows up if you put too much there. So
So how does it do in Firefox then?
I think when I ran into the issue, I couldn't get it to print on in either place.
Okay, just
I don't
curious.
know.
I'm putting a bug into the chat that I would appreciate people to vote on. We found a weird way to be able to delete patrons where they're merging, and if it's like you're creating an account that already exists, and so we had staff members that don't have permissions to delete borrowers deleting them. So if anyone can vote on that, that would be super duper. Thanks.
Patron merge still has room to grow in its functionality. What else is exciting and new, aside from the love bug?
What I was going to ask was, does anybody know if there are any new or important system preferences coming in the next version of Koha in 24.11 that we're all upgrading to sooner or later? I haven't really read the release notes yet, so.
How do I make it sort system preferences by age? There's got to be some way to do that. Rebecca also wants to be able to race the process message queue cron to the patron record to stop a terrible email, which I do kind of like.
Goody.
Yeah.
Figure since we have new people here, I'd plug some of the old bugs too.
I started my morning with some emotional whiplash on this bug 31487 to add the ability for the long overdue cron to send an email to patrons when it marks things lost, which would be really, really nice. But the bug, it needs work. It's not ready yet, but it's sponsored, so hopefully it goes somewhere. Looks like Catalyst is writing it, and that'll be nice. I'll be happy to have that cron able to send its own notice.
So back to the original report we were talking about. So if you have a report that joins the statistics table to the items table to the deleted items table, and you want to get information on circulation issues and renewals, and I run it like at the end of the month to get, or the beginning of the month to get last month's statistics, and I get my numbers, and then later I go 6 months down the line and I run that same date range again, and sometimes the numbers are different. Is that supposed to happen? Is it because of when it was run?
That
I've
is
always
not-
been confused because I've always thought if I had all those three elements in the report, that regardless of whether an item was deleted or not, it would be giving me my circ stats. But they sometimes change. So I'm confused.
It kind of depends. Like, so that's one of the things I like about just getting the I think in the statistics table, it records the item type, the shelving location, and the collection code all in the statistics table. So I like getting those things from there. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I think all three of those things are stored in there. And I don't think it's always been that way. I think that that it used to be that collection code wasn't stored in there. You know, I'm trying to look at the current schema. But my experience has been that, you know, the statistics table, you download all that data gets recorded in the statistics table. And we have our statistics table set to auto prune anything more than 25 months old. So we only keep that table for 2 years, just to keep the table small, just because if we haven't used that data in 25 months, then we shouldn't have that data. We shouldn't keep that data because it's no longer really necessary. Sometimes though, over time, things just, it seems like, yeah, I mean, it's a big database and things happen and the data is changing. But if you're trying to get statistics and you're linking out from items to delete and to items and deleted items, things happen in those tables too. The more tables you link, the more problems you can run into. And it just seems like there's always something happens. You know, it could be that there's some cron job that deletes data for one reason or another, or you ask, you know, if you have a problem and it requires that some item been deleted be permanently removed from deleted items, then you're not going to be able to count those things. And I'm losing my train of.
So it's not really that odd.
It always seems, I always tell people that you want fresh data. I always encourage people to get the data as close in time to the time you need it to.
And we try to do that.
Yeah. Just because I mean, it's a database, it's changing, it's you know, recorded in the cloud, you know, and I always feel like in the cloud things can happen. And I think I need to go right now because I think there's some people out in the driveway. So I will see you all later.
Enjoy your flight
Sorry,
away.
I'm losing my train of thought here and I can't even find the stop button.
Well, I was
Yeah.
also going to ask, George mentioned the scheduling of the report. And we had sort of never really done that because I thought in the beginning, Bywater staff said, well, you have to schedule. It's not like you could schedule it and set the schedule and it was forever. It was like you had to schedule it every time. Is that how that works or not?
Yes and no. From the staff interface, you can only schedule a report once. But on the cron setup, Bywater can schedule a report to run over and over again. like on
Okay.
a monthly schedule or whatever.
Okay, great.
Yeah, to your deeper question, the statistics table shouldn't change. Like that should remain constant, whether you delete an item or a bib or whatever. Like that part of it should remain constant through the life of your database. But yeah, if you're once you're joining in items and deleted items, it's easy to get that report such that it does change a little, which sounds, yeah, would be not strictly accurate. Like it sounds like there is room for your report to be fact checked a little bit, but also like there's probably, it seems like George was maybe espousing some wisdom in like learning when to let it go and accept that numbers swim a little bit. And yeah, there's a line there, I'm sure.
I have a question. I mean, I've noticed, it sounds like you use the statistics table versus the pseudonymized statistics table, which should, I would think would be more static because you don't need to link to anything else. All the data's there. Is there a reason to choose one over the other?
I would say generally the pseudonymized statistics are always better if you've got them turned on,
Okay.
but it's a
Oh,
newer
so it's
thing.
something you have to, if it's
Yeah.
not turned on, then you don't have it. Okay.
Yeah. And really like borrower privacy gold standard, I'd say you turn on pseudonymized
Yeah.
transactions and then set cleanup database to delete that statistics table after a while.
Well, I just think for example, if it's checked out to a child account and the child is 2 years later is no longer a child, they've hit the adult age range. Now your number is going to change if you're using statistics table by reaching over to that borrower's table to find out what kind of person is this, or
Yeah,
was this at the,
that's a really good point. We've been talking about when your item changes between
yeah,
when the checkout happened and when you run the report. And the statistics table records some point of transaction item information.
yeah.
It really doesn't record point of transaction patron information, which pseudonymized transaction does. So if
And
you
it's just
want
the patron type as
yeah,
opposed to the person itself. Yeah, the individual.
and it records some more than patron type, nothing that's identifiable, but like I think it puts zip code in there.
Yeah, it has the zip code. There's trying to remember what else is in there. But there's a lot of information that's generalized. I do know it has a hash for the unique patron, but you're not going to find that patron from the hash. So if you want to count how many people check things out, you could probably do it by grouping up the hash, I suppose. But
Yeah, you can group by the hash to count like unique borrowers.
yeah,
Not ever gonna get you back to a specific borrower.
right. Okay, I was just wondering if there was a reason that people were sticking to statistics that I was overlooking about something in pseudonymized statistics.
It's
Okay.
relatively new and it's hard to spell.
And say, it's hard to say too.
Is that a separate table?
Yes.
I don't think I even knew that.
Here.
We're really looking at it mostly from item types, I think, as opposed to bringing in the borrower. So maybe that's why
Well, the item types are recorded too.
I can show you an example. That's the one I want. This is my old library. Hello, Dubuque County Library. How's it going? Oh, I changed this report. Yeah, that's good. So this is what the pseudonymized transactions table looks like. It's a lot like statistics. If we come in here, we can see at this date time, a renewal happened. for this item. So like that part's very much what the statistics table says and some information about what that item was. But then it also, if we scroll over to the other end of the table, records borrow information. That's the hash borrower number. So that's unique to this patron. We could run a report that says, show me everything that borrower $2A $10 blah, blah, blah has done. But beyond that, it links to a bunch of demographic stuff. They're from Piasta. They live in this zip code. And again, that's recorded at point of transaction. So if this person has moved since, their 2024 checkouts will be attributed to this zip code, but later checkouts will be recorded to their accurate current zip code. And then the nice thing about having all of this data is once it exists, you can use it for all of your statistics and start deleting out that actual statistics table where you're tying borrower numbers to item numbers, possibly in violation of your patron reading history choice.
So this table then reports on all the pseudo ones and the non-pseudo ones.
This table, okay, I'm gonna back up 1 second and delete this report before I go leaving a mess. So that pseudonymized transactions table, if you've turned it on, records a line there for every checkout or renewal. Really, like this at the same time it records statistics, it will also record here, and it's for all checkouts. It asks you what kinds of data you want to record. They've got it set to record everything because I don't know why not.
And it runs independently of whether or not you're anonymizing your patron's transactions. They're separate
Correct.
settings.
Yeah.
So even if you're not anonymizing your patron settings, patron transactions, you can still run this or
Yeah,
have
really.
this.
Yeah, even if you're not worrying about patron privacy particularly, this is still recording nice point of checkout demographic data. Jason put out a blog post. Thanks, Jason.
It was written by someone famous.
I wrote it. It was me. Because I appointed myself the person who will learn how to spell pseudonymization.
So just to clarify, there's no harm in turning that on. I'm used to using statistics. I'm old school because we didn't have pseudonymization back in the day. But if I turned on that system preference, it would start generating that table for me, but I could still rely on my old statistics table until I've transitioned things over to the pseudonymized.
Right.
Now I'm gonna stop.
I don't think you can go back in time and gather things from your statistics table and pseudonymize them.
You can.
Right.
There's a script for that.
There is a
Oh,
script for
well-
that? Ooh.
I bullied
Ooh.
Bywater into writing it when I worked for a library. So yeah, there's a script they can run that goes back through your statistics table and like backfills pseudonymized transactions. Now it backfills it with patron and item information as it exists at the moment you run the script. So like it doesn't know if Steve lived somewhere else 3 years ago. But it would get you that data stream so then you could chop off old statistics. And then update all of your reports. That's the other hard part.
And we can just select all for both of the following fields and stuff, and it won't.
Yeah.
All right, cool, thank you.
There's another system preference in there. No, not another system preference. There's if you have patron attributes, I think there's a special place you need to tell it which patron attributes to include, and then those get stored differently in the database. Is it in the attributes setup? Yeah. So if you're using patron attributes, there's a checkbox for keep for pseudonymization. So check that to tell it also get this data point for my patron, if that's important for you.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, like they're not saving any of these because they're not important or pseudonymized data. Well, that was a fun digression.
Well, I have a maybe it's a report, not really a reports question. Those of you who do not live in the South or in a mountainous area will laugh, but we had 2 inches of snow Friday and we're closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and yesterday, even though the temperature was above 32 Sunday. You got to wait for the snow to melt in all those hills and hollers. So when you have an extended, unexpected closing, do you have a checklist of things to keep an eye out for? Or, hey, don't forget to do this? I think I changed due dates and pushed those forward a week so that they won't get hit with fines when we couldn't get out because it snowed 2 inches. And they closed school at least 12 hours before it actually started snowing. So we knew we weren't coming in Friday by 3 o'clock Thursday. I haven't printed the overdues notices yet. I'm hoping everybody gets their book drops emptied first, so I'm not printing out 200 plus overdue notices from stuff that should have been returned. It was the week. Oh, it was all the days between Christmas and New Year's. All that stuff is now 2 weeks overdue. And instead of getting it spread out over a couple of days, I get to print them all today, and I don't want to. The Holtz queue is over 3,000 items.
Is it just for the one library? Is it for one library?
One library with 19 buildings.
Nah. Sorry, good luck.
Yeah. Our smallest, and the way the Holtz queue, it doesn't know which of our libraries are the smallest. The absolute smallest library that's open the fewest number of hours had over 200 items on the Holtz queue this morning. I said, wait till this afternoon. It'll go down. Just leave it alone. Just pretend you didn't see that.
Trying to think of other things that like you should definitely check on. Do your waiting holds expire automatically? Do you have a whole bunch?
They expire, but they don't get canceled. Because then we'd never know where anything was.
Yeah.
So I just said, yeah, just don't clean your whole shelves this week. Wait till after MLK Day, then clean them then. They're still attached to the right people. So what, they were told to pick it up sooner. So what? I can't think of anything else. Just thought if check the wisdom of the group.
I mean,
Okay.
for us, when it's a closing, it's usually not everybody. Like if everybody shut down, then we all share the same problems. But like closing a branch is
Yeah.
a pain in the butt.
Yeah, that's a
'Cause
different. This is just
yeah,
it snowed and nuts. There was a forecast of snow. It doesn't even have to snow. It just has to be a forecast of snow. And we're closed. Some genius administrator years ago decided that if the public schools were closed, then the library should close too. So we got a lot of snow days that we're all sitting at home going, why? So
yeah, I have some libraries that are like that and some that aren't. But usually, if it's just one or 2 days, we don't start messing with the settings. It's like when they're
yeah,
closed for an extended period, then I need to go in and turn off their ability to place holds, their ability to
right.
fill holds, and all that junk. And it,
We had a extended 3-week closing for maintenance on one building last year. So we went through that, but oh, I guess we'll just get caught up when we get caught up. Thanks.
Yeah, it feels like it should just shake out.
I
But
think
then,
it
like
will.
saying that makes me nervous.
Well, I wish there was a way, I think other than that I could go in and say, okay, just cancel all these fines that were incurred today. Or reduce them all by, that I could edit the fines that might be incurred. Because someone who has something that was due 3 weeks ago, why shouldn't they catch a break? But if it was due last week, I can push the due dates forward. But, how far back do I go? And I can't touch the fines without going to buy water. So.
A quick question before we wrap up. I don't know how, so I'm gonna make it short kind of thing. Does anybody ever turn their outreach vans or bookmobiles into pickup locations? And like, I wanted to see if anybody else knows how to limit holds and checkouts to certain patrons that belong. Well, no, I can't create the library because they already belong to. Anyway, does anybody have has ever done that? Can I meet with you to compare notes? Oh, dang it. That's
It's
not.
definitely broadly doable. And
Mhm.
I have seen bookmobiles in the lists of branches set as pickup locations, but I couldn't begin to tell you like which library that was. I've seen it, it's been done.
I
Um,
feel like I've seen an email about it and
yeah.
I'm just like, something's broken and I don't know what it is, and wanted to compare preferences. But if anything, I have my resources. I just wanted to compare notes with somebody. Thank you.
This is a tangential bug because I want to do something similar with delivery, but I was looking into using desks for that. So like the delivery desk, things holds that go to the delivery desk and they could be picked up there. But it turns out desks don't have that yet. But there's a bug that talks about using a desk as a pickup location because I didn't want to create a whole nother branch and do all that.
What do desks do now?
Not a lot.
We were
As
having
far
this
as I can
conversation the
tell.
other day. Like, can you do a desk as a pickup? I don't know. What are
It
desks?
would be nice if you could. That would make sense because like I've got a 3th floor library and like if the top floor could be the pickup location for the kids' books or whatever, that would make sense without creating branches for all that. I landed on using the curbside pickups module for my problem, and I have a lot of work to do to make that actually work how I want to, but I'm gonna jQuery the heck out of it. I have a bug for that too. If anybody is interested in that idea, I'll try and find it.
Dude,
Okay, so
desks.
call you for
Yeah.
everything.
Here's my bug about my conundrum. Basically, my library wants to do DoorDash, but they want to run it themselves. So I need a way to manage that in Koha, and I think the curbside pickup module can do it. It's got an extra button I don't need to make that work. But I just need to relabel a bunch of stuff and play with it. So that's my project before the web dev meeting, because then I'll talk about the things I changed. We'll see if I get it done.
That feels like there should be room for the homebound module to be involved here somewhere, but
Yeah, it's so it's not strictly homebound. They want the patrons to say, I want my hamburger delivered on this day. So like the curbside pickup module makes sense because the patron can't ask for the delivery until the hold is waiting. So when the hold comes waiting, then they'll be able to go into their account and say, I want that delivered. So it's the same sort of concept as I want that brought out to my car, but it's just skipping that step and going on to a delivery van instead. But yeah, we talked about the homebound delivery module too, and it's a separate sort of idea because on that one it's more like regular deliveries. You're pooling things to take out to that person, and for this one, it's any different hold, I can decide I want it to go on a delivery van to me rather than I have to come pick it up. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot of like other stuff they need to consider, like privacy and all that. So I'm happy to try and accommodate this idea they want to make happen. But if anybody has a way to just like tie libraries and Koha into like DoorDash or Uber Eats or something, so the patron can get their DoorDash delivery driver to pick up their holds, that'd be great.
I don't know if I want that information out there because some people here read the like to tell me about enhancements they would like and basically shop for enhancements. So can we like edit out this portion so they don't find it? I'm kind of scared now.
You know, we could do a whole gig economy module where you can pay down your fines by making book deliveries.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't like it.
But I would like to follow you for more information on that because I feel like that might be something we would be interested in, just not anytime soon.
And Charlie, again, like your broad idea of make the bookmobile a branch, make it a pickup location, use circ rules to control which patron categories and which, like, yeah, who gets to send things there. That's all doable.
Mhm. And that's what we're doing right now on the test server. So hopefully, I'm not even gonna say it out loud.
It'll all work.
It will all work. Put it out in the universe.
Well, y'all, it's 10:58, or, you know, adjust for your time zone. But we're 2 minutes from the ending of this meeting. Quick, somebody lob a giant thorny question. We can all run away from it. You're welcome, Heather. Don't be a stranger. Do, you know, wander back whenever. Okay, well then I'm gonna go away. Goodbye, everybody.